Okay, here we have Alyssa, who's my sort of working student assistant, who's home for the summer from the University of Kentucky. She just finished her freshman year there. Anyway, she's been with me now for about 2 weeks, and it's going fantastic. And she's been getting to ride a lot of horses. And so this is her first ride on Eye on the Candy, who is a 6-year-old 16 two-hand thoroughbred gelding by He's Had Enough, which is a tappet line. So I on the Candy has had probably about a half a dozen rides with me. And he is a really lovely, sort of simple horse. I mean, he wants to make the correct shape. He's very quiet. He never really wants to get anywhere quickly. He's figuring out the footwork in his canter transition. Sometimes he'll scoot a little bit into the canter transition the first time or two that you ask. But we were working on that today, and he did some absolutely lovely departs. So no doubt that will go away with just a bit more training because he really just does have a very quiet, easygoing soul. And so Alyssa on this ride today was, well, this is her first time sitting on him. So I just want to start by saying that she did an absolutely beautiful job riding him. And it is hard to get on a horse that you don't know, that you've never sat on before, and, produce something that someone else feels is video worthy. And she certainly did. And she had him going absolutely lovely. So he also had an introduction to poles. So working on the canter departs and using poles and little jumps sort of goes together to teach him the footwork of just stepping into the canter and not sort of scooting into the canter. And so that worked really well, and they had some really good work. So anyway, what I love about Candy is that he has a very uphill build, which makes him have a fantastic canter and a great balance. But of course, we're always training against what is the more natural thing for the horse. So because he's so uphill, he tends to have a very high head carriage. So even when he's soft, we just want to encourage him to drop his entire neck. We really would like for him to drop his neck at the base of the neck. I think he's probably going to need a couple more gears and buttons before he understands that. But he is doing a good job of sort of finding more flexion and lowering kind of like the middle of his neck. And of course, as you watch Alyssa going over some poles here, she had that really lovely on the flat when we started. But then you start introducing the poles, and it's a lot to expect. A green horse like this is going to maintain the same level of roundness and connection as they're learning about poles and jumps for the first time. So, of course, that goes out the window a little bit when you start over the poles. But, like here, for example, that's absolutely beautiful. Really nice rhythm over that cavaletti. So, certainly not completely out the window. You just have to be a little bit more forgiving about it. We can't have the same expectations as we would for him or will for him in, a couple of months to 6 months. And so the goal for me always with these guys, no matter who's sitting on their back, is that we want this to be a fun and relaxed, stress-free event for them. We don't want them to think that going over things is reason for anxiety or to get quick or tense. We just want this to be a laid-back, pleasant experience for the horse. And of course, that's easier said than done when you have a horse that doesn't particularly want to do what you're asking it to do. But Candy certainly made things very easy for us, and easy for me to say that because he was just more than happy and willing to just plot around, go over all the things without batting an eye, and just made it quite as simple as you would hope a green horse would make it. And Alyssa did a great job of keeping him straight and on the aids and nice soft elbows and just sort of staying in the middle of him and never interfering with him as he figured out his legs. So, what I was talking to Alyssa about as she was riding was, we want to encourage him to learn to land in the canter, but not by rushing him and making him tense as he steps across the poles. So at some point here, he did land in the canter. It wasn't my favorite canter transition, so we do come back to that and work on that. But I thought it would be good just to ride the canter for a little bit because riding his canter certainly helps sort of his neck set and his frame and gets him loosened up across his top line, as it tends to with all of these guys. And I apologize for the video quality. It's very hard to watch and sort of coach and video all at the same time. I think I had at least 3/4 of the horse in the frame at most times. I love this flexion she had here coming down this long side. We were talking about the idea of just starting to stay to the inside of the track so that you can introduce the notion of moving off the inside leg, the placement of the shoulders, just a slight degree of shoulder in to help get that bend in the rib cage. She did a great job. And so then once we had a nice canter on the flat, we started introducing cantering over some poles, which is, comes very naturally to him because he has such a great canter. So here we are working on getting a nice smooth canter transition. And that was absolutely beautiful. I was thrilled with that. Alyssa did a great job. Sometimes with these guys, when they first come off the track, you have to be a little bit delicate about sitting on their back. But Candy just travels in a frame that just invites you to sit, use your seat, and it's very easy for him. Good boy. So, a little bit of a wonky distance, but he is just so chill about it. He's happy just to sort out his feet and get the job done. And then we took a lot of walk breaks. I don't think we ever trotted over that, but it doesn't matter. He was so happy to just have a nice loose rein walk over it. So then we came to the right, and the ultimate purpose here was to hope to get the right lead and work on that a little bit. And I was hoping to get it by using some pulls and little things. And so, of course, the goal here is to get the right, but again, without adding any anxiety or tension to the mix. And also at this stage of the game, it's just nice when you have to throw the lead out the window a little bit. I'm thrilled that he is here wanting to land in a balanced canter. And so that's the main priority, is just having a good quality canter. So I'm not at all upset that he's landing on the left lead, especially here he's right in that short side by the gate. So of course he's wanting to lean on that left shoulder because he's so close to the gate. So it's really a hard spot to be working on it. But I thought Alyssa did a great job of keeping his shoulders straight. Sometimes you do everything right and they still land on the, pick up whatever lead you weren't asking for, and that just is what it is. I actually thought that there he had the positioning. He would have stepped into the right lead if he had actually struck off into the canter. That's something I'm working on with 7 right now, my RRP horse. Striking off into the canter when I actually asked for the canter. And then there we go. What a smart boy. Did the change over the little cavalettis, and now he's in the right lead. So now we're going to work the canter a little bit. So we would like to get him to sort of drop his neck a little bit, find some bend in the middle of his neck and his rib cage. There, that's a better quality. And then over the poles. So it was a little bit of a short distance, and that's no problem. He changed his lead over the poles. So I told Alyssa to just keep cantering. And so there he kept his left lead. Of course, that's the hard corner because you're by the gate. And sometimes another strategy I'll use if I'm not getting what I want with plan A is just to let them counter canter. And that it might dawn on them at some point that it would actually be easier if they were on the other lead that you were asking for. I think I did that with Bullwinkle the other day and it worked really well. So this is a lovely counter canter and a beautiful change over the poles. That was really well written. And so here we decided to try and canter over the flower boxes on the quarter line. And so he wants to put some trot steps in here, which is no problem. But I was thrilled with this because he wanted to put in the trot steps to have some extra time to think about it, which was fine because it was in a balanced way. But then he did a beautiful step into his right lead canter over the poles. And that's what we're going for. Excuse me. And so then one more time, just gently encouraging the canter, and absolutely perfect. Beautiful spot, great rhythm and balance, and then landed in the right lead. So that couldn't have gone better. He made us look smart there. So after Alyssa finished working in the ring, we decided to let him go out for a little hack. So he's seeing the jump field for the first time and up by the road. And then she did a big loop around the jump field and came down the driveway, and he was very perfect.